Ever since the historic day, 70-odd years ago, when the All England Croquet Club decided to hold the very first lawn tennis championship on its lawns, tennis has changed and the club has changed. But one thing has not changed, the magical name Wimbledon, to which every year the finest fruits of tournament play are irresistibly attracted. Here they compete in something known modestly as the championships. The championships of nowhere in particular, but with their trophies and titles, the tennis players' highest ambition. These meetings are only made possible by long and careful preparation, directed by the All England Club Secretary, Colonel Macaulay. Each year, thousands more applications for tickets are made than there are seats available, so the lucky ones are picked by ballot. Under the eyes of Colonel Macaulay and the Secretary of the Lawn Tennis Association, numbers are drawn, checked against the name and address book, and the tickets posted right away. Members of the tournament committee discuss preparations in the quiet of the club gardens, while over at the courts, an equally important task is underway. Years of constant care by an expert ground staff have brought these magnificent lawns to their present state of perfection, a job that has no end. Then comes the marking out, and if you think that baseline looks rather thick, just try hitting it with a ball from the other side of the net. Erecting sight screens marks another stage of preparation for the 1947 tournament, and as the scoreboard goes up, the stage is almost set. The match due on this court is between Miss Kametsi, champion of Hungary, and Miss Strabayova, champion of Czechoslovakia. Meanwhile, there's that little matter of putting up the net. A supply of balls is placed close to the umpire's chair, yet kept at standard temperature until they go into play. The most harassing job at any tournament is that of the referee, who has the task of arranging all the matches. Oh yes, it seems all right with Captain Trower, but you try getting everybody on the right court at the right time. The umpires, all experts but unpaid, have to be briefed well in advance. All this time, every road appears to lead to Wimbledon, as hosts of spectators from Britain and overseas arrive by rail and road. Taxis are pressed into service as the traffic flows on, directed by the indispensable man in blue. Cars are lined up in the parking places, while their owners park themselves on camp stools until it's time to enter the ground. On parade are naval volunteers ready to act as stewards and give a helping hand when the spectators find themselves all at sea. Promptly at noon, the gates are opened and the vanguard of eager spectators is on the move. Ticket holders, of course, can afford to be more leisurely. And now, as visitors from all nations arrive for that thrilling first day of the Wimbledon fortnight, F.H. Grisewood, tennis expert of many years standing, takes up a story he knows so well.
And this is the moment when the atmosphere becomes even more highly charged with excitement as the players from 26 nations begin to arrive. Now there's Redl, the one-armed Austrian wizard who played before the war in Davis Cup matches. Another player leaves his car and prepares to go into action. And here, too, comes the daily supply of balls which are carried in for final testing. To give you some idea of the fine limits within which tennis balls have to be produced, look how a single cigarette added to the weight of the ball takes it right over the maximum allowance. And now battle is about to be joined in earnest as the ball boys collect the first supplies and all's ready for the opening match of the tournament. Ivan Petra of France, as last year's champion, has the traditional honor of opening the meeting on the center court where he meets Don Butler of Great Britain. Watch Petra's easy, almost light-hearted footwork. Look out for the next rally, showing three of Petra's favorite shots. His powerful service, the slice backhand to approach the net, and winning the match, a shoulder-high cross-court volley. Tom Brown of the USA and Eric Sturgis of South Africa are on the center court in what proved to be one of the very best matches of the meeting, notable for its beautiful rally play. Watch Tom Brown on the far side and see how he uses a lifted drive on both his forehand and his backhand. Though only just losing to Brown 8-6 in the final set, Sturgis, with his brilliant footwork, was a real joy to any student of lawn tennis. Meanwhile, the umpire in his high chair keeps an eagle eye on all the proceedings. We're told, by the way, that if Britain is once again to be supreme in the tennis world, we've got to get the youngsters interested. And here's a grand example. All this time, the vigilant ball boys are doing a non-stop job, as also is the line umpire. Always a joy to watch on the courts is charming Mrs. Menges, formerly Kay Stanners. Like so many of its surroundings, the center court didn't escape the attentions of the Luftwaffe, and this bomb-damaged space in the stand means the loss of approximately 1,000 seats. Apart from the center court itself, there are 14 other courts on which all this time matches are being played, and the board is continually being consulted. Jay Drobny of Czechoslovakia, one of the 8 seeded players in the men's singles, takes his place on the center court with Pancho Segura, the unorthodox but colorful player from Ecuador. Drobny possesses one of the finest services in the game today, all the more effective as he's left-handed. Now watch Drobny's devastating vicious smash. And you'll see 2 examples of Segura's unusual two-handed shot. Now it's Bob Falkenberg, USA at the far end, playing Philippe Washer of Belgium on number 1 court. John Bromwich of Australia. He serves right-handed and then changes his racket over and plays 2 left-handed forehand shots. On the right of his body, he uses both hands. Watch him play one of his famous drop shots. Bromwich's opponent, J. Spitzer, champion of Switzerland, plays 3 carefully controlled backhand drives. Now Spitzer uses the drop shot lob tactic to perfection, but unfortunately he misses the smash. Strolling from court to court, the spectator rubs shoulders not only with today's stars, but also with those whose names made past headlines. For instance, Mrs. Little, as Dorothy Round won the ladies' singles in 1934 and again in 1937. One of the leading Dutch players is H. van Swal. Jack Kramer of the USA was, as might be expected, a number 1 target for the autograph hunters. Besides being a great feast of sport for tennis lovers, Wimbledon is an equally important social occasion. Here, no less than at Ascot itself, is to be found fashion and beauty unlimited. In 1947, it seems that fashion has gone to the head in many varied and ingenious forms. However exciting the matches and their surroundings, watching and walking can be a little tiring, and refreshments are eagerly sought. Perfect organization has made it possible to be served quickly and efficiently. Family parties and friends gather on the refreshment lawn to provide the garden party atmosphere for which the tournament is so widely renowned. Back to the courts now, and Van Swal and Rinkel of Holland on the near side are in play against J.C. Warboys and E. Whitman of Great Britain. Here's H. Redl of Austria, the one-arm player who reached the last 16. In spite of his physical handicap, his service technique and the poise and balance of his game are remarkable. Mrs. Betty Hilton plays a forehand drive and moves up to join her doubles partner, Mrs. Jean Bostock. Together they reach the semi-final. Chinese player W.C. Choi plays against C.J. Hovell of Great Britain. Keeping an eye open for budding talent is Dan Maskell, professional champion of Great Britain, coach to the All England Club, and guide, philosopher, and friend to young players everywhere. Carefully attended during the meeting, the courts are covered when not in use, another piece of work skillfully carried out. Back in the clubhouse are many reminders of great days of the past. Here on every side are records of former champions who made England the cradle of lawn tennis as it is played today. So the matches go on, and Jack Kramer, who won the championship for the first time, is seen here in play against C. Spikała of Poland. Like all really great servers, he practically never foot faults. Watch how carefully he places his foot behind the line. Another good example of John Bromwich's two-handed shot. Notice how he drops the second service ball behind him to leave both hands free. On every court is the same activity as round succeeds round. Every stroke watched minutely by the expert in the umpire's chair. Here's Derek Barton, the English Davis Cup player. L. Berglund from Sweden proved himself one of the most attractive stroke players at the championship. England's number 1 player, Tony Mottram, in action on court 2 against Pierre Pelitzer of France. Now here you see a good example of his best shot, the backhand drive. With each day of the tournament, work in the Lawn Tennis Association office becomes heavier. Just now they're planning a reception to visiting players and the dispatch of a British team overseas. Here's Doris Hart of the United States serving and hitting a succession of forehand drives. The beauty and power of her stroke play can clearly be seen in these shots taken on a practice court. Watch Mrs. Bostock, England's Whiteman Cup player, in practice. Players in the later stages of the tournament often have a short knock-up to get their eye in and loosen up before playing matches. Bob Falkenberg of America displays his powerful service. Now the men's doubles semi-final. John Bromwich and Denny Pales of Australia on the far side in the sensational match in which they were unexpectedly beaten by Tony Mottram of Great Britain and O.W. Sidwell of Australia. Now, this was the first championship in which Mottram and Sidwell played together as a pair. Louise Brough of the United States practices her service, smash and forehand drive. Margaret Osborne, winner of the Ladies' Singles Championship for the first time, also practices her service and forehand drive.
Very frequently, the crowds acclaim the arrival of royal visitors who enjoy the thrill of battles on the centre court. A keen spectator, Queen Mary brings grace and dignity to the royal box. All set for the ladies' singles final, with Margaret Osborne serving to Doris Hart, both of the USA. Watch this exciting rally during the latter part of the final set. Match point. Miss Hart serves, fails to get her backhand drive over, and Margaret Osborne is the new champion. Countless champions have passed beneath this motto over the club doorway, and 2 more will be added to the list after the All-American final of the Ladies' Doubles Championship. Miss Hart and Mrs. Todd, after several match points against them, eventually defeated Miss Brough and Miss Osborne by 2 sets to 1. A first-class example of the strength and stamina of a modern ladies' double.
Good.
Now the spotlight falls on the final of the men's doubles as Jack Kramer and Bob Falkenberg, the Americans, come onto the center court to play Tony Mottram and O.W. Sidwell. The end of a grand match, and to the winners, congratulations and the presentation of their trophy by the Duchess of Kent. The tournament of 1947 was also made notable by the visit of Their Majesties the King and Queen, accompanied by Princess Margaret. It will be remembered that His Majesty himself played in the 1926 championship, when as Duke of York he competed in the men's doubles. His partner was Sir Louis Gregg, the present chairman of the All England Club. Well, the ultimate ambition of first-class players the world over is to win the Gentlemen's Singles Championship. And here, competing for the coveted title, are Jack Kramer and Tom Brown, both of the USA. In this rally, notice how both players turn with their backs almost to the net on the backhand in order to get maximum power into the shot. Watch Kramer come up to the net for a memorable shot. Fully extended, he yet succeeds in playing a beautifully angled cross-court volley. Now Kramer serves a match point, Brown fails to return, and Jack Kramer is the winner of the title. A proud moment as the trophy is presented by His Majesty the King at the end of another brilliant chapter in the game which is centered on Wimbledon.